Hi guys! I thought making a second water fairy would be easy, but I was wrong. These are all my failures, and there were more. But let's start at the beginning. Remember my water fairy? I was so pleased with her. I was sure I wanted to make more from UV resin like her. And today I will incorporate some color too. So let's begin. I already made some molds back then, but the ones for the arms and hands weren't any good, so I made some new ones from cornstarch and silicone. I pushed some arms and hands into the mixture before it sets, so I had to be very quick. And I let them set for a day just to be sure. I can't work for long periods at a time due to my chronic fatigue anyway, so that wasn't a problem. The next day I got them out of the mold and filled it in with resin and let it cure. I already knew the molds weren't covering the whole hands and arms, so I had to think of how I was gonna solve that problem. Maybe I could just glue them together. I so wanted to make resin arms and hands like almost real, but I already realized that wasn't gonna happen like this. And I don't have the skills yet to figure out or have the techniques or materials to do that. I hoped I could make something out of this. And I made a bunch out of these molds, so I have enough to work with. This was gonna be a fairy as well, so I wanted to make some various wings to see what I liked. I colored these with the Acrylic because at this point that's the only transparent coloring I have. But the green was way too green and the resin was way too thin, so it cured badly. The resin in the packaging from a washing detergent was an experiment to form a body or parts for the body. And of course, I failed. Should have known the packaging would not work. The resin did not come off. Maybe just a lot of resin strips then to build up a body. When cured resin gets hot, you can reshape it. And the color I liked. These two heads weren't cured okay, so I had to try new ones. I think I made a dozen of these, just as with the wings. Let's see if these were nice enough. And this color I also liked. Okay, on with the body. I continued with the technique I used for my first fairy that I copied from Fairyman, the technique that is, he used for his Berenginia. And I will put his link here somewhere. And I used a Batgirl type doll for this. This doll I found also on a flea market in our local ice skate hall. And it's a bit bigger than a Monster High doll, so there's a bit more surface to work with, I thought. This hip part I liked very much, but the smooth parts not so much. Maybe for another project one day. But it reminded me, let's get the support it needs before I forget. I still had a piece of that curtain stick I used to save my water fairy with. And prepare the base, shall we? It's again the same wooden plant holder I found at a thrift store. I will fill it with tin foil, air dry clay, and hot glue to get it solid for the acrylic stick. On with the wings. This fairy is getting multiple little wings. I was happy with these green colors and I left them almost untouched, like the whimsical shapes nature can have. You can also see in the background, I've been busy with the arms and the hands, but I was not content with those. And I have to figure out what to do about them. Back to the body. I'm not making the same mistake as last time, and I'm coloring every bit I did immediately. And I decided something at this point. I wanted to add lights. I had this light string with 1,000 LEDs on them. I hoped I could use them here. I certainly didn't want to use a small light string I have laying around somewhere, so I really had to make this one work. Yeah, I like. So I made the rest of her body like a puzzle. It must be easy to get all the parts together, but also so the lights could get in there. And it was indeed a puzzle. I used various dolls for this. The Batgirl was nice and big. And for her waist, I used a Monster High doll, nice and small. The lower part I liked like this, flared instead of obvious legs. And I wanted those to be longer, just as her arms or hands and her head. All the proportions a bit stretched. So I moved on to making all the parts and gluing them together with the UV resin, and once in a while using the heat gun to soften the resin to reshape parts to make them fit. This is what I have so far. There are bits I like very much, but it still needs more shape. And of course her arms and head. The latter I was content with, but the arms still needed a solution. And for the shape, I just added more strips of resin to fill in gaps and make the shape better. For her head, I already knew how I was gonna finish it. I want to give her some whimsical pointy shapes, and I hoped I had enough left from this stuff, the UV putty. It's UV resin which you can knead, and I already used this a couple of times to make, for example, icicles and flames for my Ice Queen and Phoenix. And it's easy to use. You just need a bit of grease on your fingers so it won't stick. It's just very runny, so I cured every bit separately. So maybe not very easy to use. In any case, I love the stuff and I hope I can soon buy some new. For now, my budget is empty again. Maybe someday I have enough to build the whole figurine out of it. That would be awesome. And we're back with the body. That's me, guys. I'm all over the place. I apparently don't work in a chronological order, and to edit it so, it would probably take me days longer, so I won't bother. So sorry if it's a bit messy or unclear like this. I just keep adding bits till I finally like what I see, sometimes heating parts up so they fit better, and listening to some music. Time to tackle her arms. I decided not to use the mold arms, but to use the same technique as the rest. I just had to accept her hands weren't going to be perfect, but in fact that wasn't so bad at all. She's also a type of water fairy, maybe a sea fairy, and that means her hands won't be needing to be perfect at all. And besides, I wanted them to be a bit longer in proportion anyway. So I will spare you all the hours of footage where I try to make the mold hands work, but I fail anyway. So I'm not gonna show you. Let's focus on what I did do. So now I have two of these ugly whimsical hands. Meanwhile, I'm still adding parts to her figure. am back with her hands. I so wanted the lights to reach her hands also, so I wanted them to be hollow. So I made 2 flat hands and glued them together in a way they remain hollow, so the lights can come in there. And also the rest of her arms had to be accessible. A lot to consider here. Oh, let's see what I didn't use. Maybe these hats I can use sometime for some weird projects. Maybe the rest also. I will hold on to them, but aren't they ugly? Oh my god. But the hat I did use, I'm very happy with. Oh, and these were the hands I worked so long on. And these I did use. What a difference. But they are hollow and I still believe I can make them work. And I guess now is as good a time as any to put all the lights in before it's not possible anymore. And knowing myself, that's a real possibility that I'm too late. So I'm carefully putting all the lights from the bottom through her body up. Then it is a very precise task to put some length in the arms all the way to the hands. And it took some fiddling, but I managed it. And I wanted her in her place at this point. I colored the curtain stick also, so it would blend in more, I hoped. The clay in the stand was at this point hard and dry, so I could begin to put everything together. All the light had to be around the stick, and thus began another fiddling task. At the top I secured the string to the stick with resin, and so now and then in between also. I did not wind it tight because I wanted the lights everywhere, not just in the center. When I put the whole stick in the body, I warmed it up slightly to make it easier to get it in.
Like I'm living in a dream. Like I'm living in a dream.
Oh, phew, the lights work. Time to put the rest together. I had some more parts I wanted on the bottom, and I needed to attach her head also. Oh, and of course her wings. There were some openings on her back still, where I could insert them and glue them with resin. Some finishing touches on her arms, and the second hand still needed to be glued on. I was waiting on an order with silicone gloves because the heat gun is hot, and so is the resin. Duh. I didn't like the second hand, so I had to sand and shape some things, and now I wished I didn't already put the first one on, because that too would need some shaping. And apparently I forgot to push the record button. You can hear me swearing on the footage where I did push it, and discovered I had nothing recorded about putting the head on with UV putty. UV putty. The neck and the cleavage is made from it. It went on very easy, and I smoothed everything with UV resin, so the transition is less visible. I put more spikes on her head, and now the whole head is closed in. And the camera doesn't do its job properly. Fairy. Anneke. No fairy. No Anneke. No fairy. some EVA foam on the base, and I painted everything black and gave it a glossy varnish. And my gloves arrived, just in time to try them out while putting my water fairy in her place. It's not only handy for heat, but also to prevent fingerprints to get on there. I removed all mine with a layer of UV resin. And then she's done. I will definitely continue with this technique to just see where I can go with it. I love the outcome, and my first water fairy is the reason I can stand on an exhibition with a few pieces this summer, and I'm very excited about it. I will let you know. And as usual, I would love to know what you think of this second resin project. Please leave your thoughts down below. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And I hope to see you next time.